I like to use this metaphor when I talk to people about collaborative and the difference between collaborative and traditional. Would you like to have a total stranger come into your house and start making decisions about you, your lives, your children, and your finances? That's what happens in a traditional divorce. The judge is a stranger. He doesn't know your children, or she doesn't know you or your finances, and yet they'll be making long-term decisions that will affect your family for the rest of their life. That's one of the basic differences, because in collaborative, the decision-making process is in the hands of the parents with the assistance of a team of experts. I think another big difference is that collaborative is much more child-focused. We have a child specialist who acts as a neutral who comes into the process. You don't find that in traditional divorce. That child specialist becomes the voice for the children. And the third difference for me, which is a very special one, because as a divorce coach, I have the privilege, and I call it a privilege, to work with parents in creating a parenting plan. And by doing that, we can also add to a process of separating a family, but helping them to construct a future. So that parenting plan creation is very special. In a traditional divorce, the parenting plan is usually done by a lawyer and one of the parties in their office, and they fax things back and forth to the other lawyer and the other party. In a collaborative, we all sit down in a room together with the parents, bring in the recommendations of the child specialist, and the parents, with the guidance of the coaches, create a very unique parenting plan. A lot of people just pull the parenting plans off the internet, kind of a one-size-fits-all. But if you ever see the quality of the parenting plans created in a collaborative process, they can only fit that family and their unique particular children. So I think that's a big difference. And again, it's a way and a vehicle for the family to move forward as they reconfigure. Many people ask about the outcomes of collaborative, and the best answer I can give is that research tells us that when we human beings are going through a difficult time or going through very important events that are going to have a long-term impact on our life, we know we'll have more satisfactory outcomes when there are two things involved. And the first is when we can participate in the process. And the second is when we have a sense of ownership. And that's what collaborative offers and how it's completely different from the traditional. There's far more participation in the part of the parents in decision making rather than a stranger and a judge. And then that creates for them a sense of ownership. And again, that then generally results in a much better and much more satisfied outcome. The other outcome that's different is a collaborative is a private affair, is an out-of-court settlement. And that appeals to many people, that they can settle this amongst themselves without the public being involved in a way that's not attractive to them as a family. The feedback that I've gotten from clients is that it was hard because it is a difficult time. Many people, I say, divorce is like the change of a dream. Most people get married and they think that they're going to be married forever until death do us part. And unfortunately, sometimes divorce happens. But then they have to change the dream. So that's a huge shift for people, and that involves a lot of emotions of fear and anxiety over the unknown and concerns about their children and themselves, their financial futures. So in going through that, parents come back and often say that this was very helpful. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it was very helpful. The other feedback that I always remember that one parent told me was that at least she can look back on her divorce and say it was in keeping with her values as a person, that she wanted to be a kind of role model for the children even during a difficult time. And I think that's very important, and that's one thing that collaborative divorce offers people, is that as they fashion and create their divorce, it can still be in keeping with their values as human beings. And that's why we often call collaborative divorce as a way to divorce with respect and dignity. There are lots of clients that come in, and at first they're still very overwhelmed about the whole divorce process. And they say, I'm not sure what this collaborative is, but I think I want to do it. I did sign the papers. And I sort of help them and walk them through the process. We always have to remember that this is a very emotional time of high stress, and we don't think clearly when we're in those times. And so sometimes we need to assist the clients to get into a better place to make decisions. And I usually start there, and I explain that, we'll help you with the emotions, we'll acknowledge them, but we'll also help you get into those parts of your brain where we call the executive functioning, where the logical part is, where you can make these good decisions. And that's usually a good place to start, that they feel that they have a place that will be safe, that they can express their emotions and concerns, and yet feel the guidance of how do I get to a better place? How can I sit down, say, with my ex and start talking about the children? And they feel then the safety of doing that when there's a team, when there are coaches with them. And I've often had parents say to me, particularly after the first four-way, where they're the two coaches and the two parents, and they'll say to me, I can see now the value of having the experts involved or having the team involved. I hear that almost with every case, that at first there was a little uncertainty of how's this going to work, but once they got into it, they do see the value of it. One of the beauties of collaborative is the creation of the parenting plan and the hope that it holds for the parents to continue to work together and co-parent after divorce. I say to parents, what do you do when you have a babysitter? What's the first question you ask the babysitter when you come home? And they'll say, how'd everything go? But 95% of the time after divorce, the parents aren't talking. They'll transition the children. There's no communication. And the result is the children don't sense and feel that the parents are really working together. Or unfortunately, then the children get put in the middle to carry messages. So one of the beauties with the creation of the parenting plan is the parents are actually practicing those skills of how to co-parent. We suggest if it is difficult to still talk face-to-face, then text, then email each other or leave voicemails. But we help them to understand you must communicate about the children. That is how the children will feel loved and secure, and that will ease their transition into the two homes. And even though there are two homes to their children, it's their family. And we say, for children, family is forever.